My name is Seremban Hashim and I will be presenting on the introduction. So, in general, public policy refers to what the government decides to do or not to do. It is a government choice to take action or not in order to address an issue. Public policy is a plan of action that controls a number of interconnected activities in a certain area. They rarely deal with a single problem, but rather a group of interconnected and long-term issues. A policy can be a law, an act, or a collection of rules and regulations that control a certain concern or problems. One of the policy that come out as an act is Road Transportation Act. In Malaysia, road transportation is one of the most used modes of passenger and cargo transportation. The Road Transport Department of the Ministry of Transportation is in responsibility of ensuring that vehicles are properly licensed, roads and highways are in a good condition, and that all necessary road transportation rules are being followed. Since 1987, the Malaysian Road Transport Act has served as the country's primary regulatory framework for road transportation. It contains necessary details on what activities are regarded proper or unsuitable when it comes to the vehicle and the driver on the road. The Malaysian road transportation legislation contains significant amendment as well as classification, requirement and implication for motorists. In this act, it includes three matters that have been prescribed by the authorities in the Constitution, which to provide for the regulation of traffic on the roadways, the protection of third person from the danger associated with the usage of motor vehicles, and as well as transportation adjustment. Under Road Transportation Act, there are a number of programs that has been implemented by the Act where one of it is rear seatbelt policy. Malaysian government began enforcing the rear seatbelt policy on January 1, 2009. As indicated by Nolin, Malaysian rear seatbelt policy was enacted after 30 years of law that solely applied to front seat passenger. However, starting in January 2009, rear passengers who are found unbelted in passenger vehicles would be fined ringgit 300 Malaysian. The policy's purpose is to control the conduct of the passenger in buckling rear seat belts in order to reduce the number of fatalities and serious injuries caused by car accidents. The next program under this Act is an act against individuals convicted of driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs. Individuals who drive while drunk in Malaysia are liable to punishment under Section 45A, Clause 1 of the Road Transport Act 1987, which carries a fine of not less than 1,000 or and not more than 6,000, as well as a sentence of not more than 12 months in jail. The offender can be penalized under Section 44 of the Road Transport Act 1987, which imposes a maximum fine at 10,000 and a maximum sentence of 12 months in jail for driving while drunk resulting in death. This was created and implemented to protect road users from any danger.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurul Iza binti A. Aziz. So, the first issue of Road Transportation Act 1987 is because of high fatality rate caused by accidents on the road. High rate of fatality due to road accidents has been major challenges for most developing countries, and Malaysia is not an exception for it. According to WHO, it is estimated that around 1.3 million of fatalities and deaths recorded in 2060 due to the road accidents. While in Malaysia, according to Malaysian Institute of Road Safety Research (MIROS), the rate of fatality due to road traffic accidents in Malaysia is the third highest in Asia and ASEAN. The most common causes of fatality in Malaysia is because of the road traffic accidents. It can be seen by the statistic released by the police that more than 500,000 accidents were reported, with 7,000 deaths approximately every year. As stated by Miros, road accidents involve several groups of road users, such as motorcyclists, cyclists, pedestrians, and also drivers. All of these road users have been contributing in the surge of fatality rate on the road. And drivers or the car occupants are one of the highest contributors to road fatality, with the average amount of 2,384 cases recorded every year. There are several factors that cause the road users, especially car users, car drivers or the passengers, to involve in road traffic accidents. One of them is because of not wearing a seat belt, especially rear seat belts. A rear seatbelts policy has been introduced by government since 2009 as one of the efforts of reducing death and severe injury in road accidents. It is because studies shows that if the drivers or the passengers wear seatbelts with the working airbags during collision or car accidents, the risk of fatality will be decreased. However, it seems like the road users in Malaysia are not even concerned or bothered with this government effort, as statistics still shows that the usage of rear seat belts in Malaysia in 2021 is 11%, where it is still considered as low. Next, the second issue of Road Transportation Act 1987 is the rise cases of driving under influence of alcohol or drugs. Driving under influence is a driving offense where the drivers who are under the influence of alcohol or drugs are in control of vehicles when they are basically not capable of driving safely at the moment. Driving under influence of alcohol or drugs, surprisingly, has contributed 100 numbers of deaths and severe injuries among the road users. According to Ministry of Transportation, the rate of driving under influence, especially involving drunk drivers, continuously increasing for the past 10 years. Statistics shows that the number of death cases due to drunk driving will arise from 49 cases in 2010 to its peak number in 2016, which is 237 cases, and continuously increasing year by year. While according to the statistic issued by Royal Malaysia Police, 191 drivers and motorcyclists have been caught for driving under influence, and 54 deaths were reported among the numbers. Driving under influence of alcohol not only resulted to death but also serious injuries. According to the data provided by the Ministry of Transportation, approximately 2,281 were injured due to reckless drunk drivers between 2011 until 2018. In 2019, there is 919 people were arrested for the drunk drivers offense. So, according to this statistic, it can be seen that driving under influence of alcohol is not a simple transportation issue that can be taken lightly, because this issue has been affecting 100 numbers of innocent life in Malaysia. Studies shows that drunk drivers or people who is driving under influence of alcohol has the higher possibility of causing road accidents compared to the sober drivers.
My name is Rose Farida Hanim binti Roslan, and I will be presenting on the implementations of the policy. First, let us talk about the rear seatbelts policy in Malaysia. The first stage of the implementation of the rear seatbelt policy in Malaysia took place in June 2008. Started with the National Advocacy Campaign for Rear Seatbelt wearing in order to raise awareness about the necessity of rear seatbelt. And the government has used many platforms, including televisions and radio advertisements, banners and stickers, as well as the community-based activities. And at the same time, the government also promoting back the front seat Seatbelts policy, which was implemented back in 1979 throughout the campaign. The second stage, the Malaysia's rear seatbelt policy came into force after 6 months of the national advocacy campaign on 1st January 2009 under the Motor Vehicle Rules Seatbelts 2008 amendment, which after 30 years of enforcing the law for front seat passengers by the government, beginning on the 1st January 2009 until 30th June 2009, rear passengers who are caught to be driving without their seatbelts will be fined by the JPJ and PDRM for RM300 for each violation during the first 6 months of period. And according to the regulations, only rear passengers who are 17 years old or older will be penalized under these regulations. And as of July 2009, the maximum penalties have been up to RM2,000 or imprisonment up to 1 year or both. All cars registered on or after the first day of January 1995 will be required to be equipped with rear seat belts, and those who do not have rear seat belts in their car, the owners are granted 3 years to install rear seat belts in their car, especially for automobiles registered on or after the 1st January 1995. And in order to lessen the cost for the owners, JKJR and automobile manufacturers like Proton, Produa and Honda has formed a memorandum of understanding MOU, under which these car makers agreed to provide free rear seatbelt retrofitting. In the third stage of the implementation of the policy, the child safety seats and rear seat belts for cars will become mandatory, and as well as the use of passengers' seat belts and CCTV cameras on every buses. The proposal has been accepted by Miros, and it was intended to be implemented in 2020 last year, but it was put on hold because of the COVID-19 pandemic, which occurred in the same year. And on the 1st November 2020, it became mandatory for all the government personnel to wear the rear seat belts when traveling in government-owned cars. And it is actually to promote the government officers to become role models in order to inspire the public. Next, we will talk on the driving under influence of alcohol or drugs implementations. Previously, drunk driving was solely punishable under Section 45A1 of the Road Transport Act 1987, in which the offender would be fined not less than RM1,000 Malaysia and not more than 6,000, or imprisoned for not less than 12 months. And offenders who commit drunk driving offences that results in death are subject to punishment under Section 44 of the Act, which includes a maximum fine of RM10,000 Malaysia and a maximum imprisonment sentence of 12 months. And their driving license will be suspended for 2 years. The Ministry of Transport (MOT) has amended the Old Road Transport Act 1987 to impose harsher penalties on those who are convicted of driving while under the influence of alcohol or drugs. It came into force on October 23, 2020, and the amendments calls for much harsher penalties violations of Section 44 and 45 of the Act. For Section 45G, the imposed limits for alcohol content are now changed to 22 micrograms of alcohol in 100 milliliters of breath, which was previously 35 micrograms, 50 milligrams of alcohol in 100 milliliters of blood, which previously 80 milligrams, and 67 milligrams of alcohol in 100 milliliters of urine, which previously is 107 milligrams. Section 441 deals with the results in death sentence. If found guilty of causing the death of another person while driving under the influence of drugs or alcohol, the offender would be sentenced to jail for at least 10 years and not more than 15 years, as well as a fine ranging between 50,000 ringgit Malaysia to 100,000 ringgit. The driver will be prohibited from holding a driver's license for a period of at least 10 years following the incidents. For Section 441A, imposes injury penalties. If found under the influence for causing injury, the penalty is at least of 7 years imprisonment but not more than 10 years, and a fine of at least 30,000 ringgit, not more than 50,000 ringgit. The driver is disqualified to have driver's license for at least 7 years. Section 45, it is imposed charges penalties. The individuals will be fined at least 1,000 ringgit Malaysia but not more than 5,000, and he will be sentenced to a maximum of 2 years in jail if found guilty. The driver's license will be prohibited for at least 2 years, while under Section 45A, it imposes penalty for exceeding the prescribed limit. If a person convicted for driving or trying to drive while their blood alcohol level exceeds the limit, he will face up to 2 years of prison and a fine at least 10,000 ringgit Malaysia but not more than 30,000 ringgit. And the driver will also be prohibited from having a driver's license for at least 2 years if guilty.
Okay, my name is Rina Elur binti Muhammad Napia. So today I will be presenting about the challenges of the policy. The first challenges in implementing the seatbelt policy is lack of enforcement, which is bring the meaning of a failure to enforce or carry out something. In this context, it can be seen that due to lack of enforcement by the relevant bodies such as the police and the road transport department, it has caused an increasing to road fatality. As an example, during the roadblocks, the summons are not be given to the rear passenger who do not wear a seatbelt. Instead, the officer blinded their eyes and let them go without issuing any fine. Next, the administrative system is corrupted is one of the constraints in addressing drunk drivers. People are frustrated when the fact that drunk driving cases are getting out of control, and even more angered to the fact that there are no appropriate action has been taken by the proper authorities toward these cases. Thus, it has contributed to a high increasing rate of death caused by the action of people driving under the influence of alcohol. As in the case of Corporal Safwan Muhammad Ismail, when he was hit by a Toyota Hilux driven by a 44-year-old man who was suspected of being under the influence of alcohol. It can be said that administrative system in our country is corrupted, where most of the cases which involve Chinese races, the relevant bodies will claim that the case will be postponed until the further notice. Therefore, to sum up everything, the challenges arise may be because of the administrative system itself. Yet, it cannot be denied that the people in this country should play an important role to ensure the implementation of this policy is well implemented.
Hi, my name is Muhammad Aklam bin Muhammad Rosli, and I will talk about the action taken by the government. So the first action taken by the government for the rear seatbelt policy is increasing the amount of fines and summons from 300 ringgit to 2,000 ringgit. Or maybe they can be in prison for 1 year. Okay, this increment of summons and fines or penalties, this will create fear to the public. Why? Because the amount is too big and the time in prison is too long. So people be more aware of this policy and will do it because of they are scared of the fines and penalties. It's okay if we use a bit of fear in a policy implementation or in action taken so that people will follow the SOP or standard operation procedure. Next, we are talking about the awareness of the public. Nowadays, public have less awareness of rear seatbelt policy about the importance of wearing seatbelt when you become a passenger in the rear of a car. So basically, government has made advertisement or advertise at television, radios, banners, stickers, and community-based programs. So basically, government do something to advertise and to create awareness to the people. And this awareness is so important so that all the people, all the public understand why is it important to wear rear seatbelt and why the government make this policy. Okay, for the third one, action taken by the government, okay, to settle the challenges of driving in influence of alcohols and drugs. This case we heard a lot about. People die because of it. People get injured because of it. People get permanent damage, permanent loss because of it. So basically, Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin have given some instruction to the Ministry of Transport to amend Road Transport Act 1987 on Act 333, which is to give higher punishment or higher penalties to those who are drunk and driving and making some accidents and maybe death. So this is a very, very important thing to make because this carelessness or this incident or this accident may cause personal damage or total damage or permanent damage and even death. So basically, before this and nowadays, the penalties is just for death, if it includes death, it's only 10,000 ringgit or 12 months in prison. So that is not a good punishment. That is not a good penalty. So the government, our Prime Minister itself, given orders, given instruction to the Ministry of Transport to amend the Road Transport Act 1987, Act 333. So that's all from me. Thank you so much.
In conclusion, there are a variety of initiatives that may be made in order to improve public policy to be used in society. The government and society have an important role in putting policy stated into action and achieving the goals. During the execution of this policy, there are several issues and challenges that arise where there are difficulties of adoption of the policy towards the citizen and inefficient enforcement of the policy. Furthermore, there will be more challenges and limitations in the future while enacting the program, particularly with the numerous issues that arise on the road from time to time. However, this is not an excuse, rather, the government should use this hurdle as motivation to improve and introduce more programs that benefit citizens and the country.